Good morning. It's Thursday, December the 2nd, and this is The Drill. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. So today, after the reading of the Daily Declaration of Spiritual Warfare, the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance, and the singing of the Star-Spangled Banner, I will have, we will have Paying the Price, CRT and Control, school shooters, subversion, subversion of ethics, and no free lunch. All that and more when I come back. Thank you. And now for the Daily Declaration for Spiritual Warfare, Biblical Principles to Defeat the Devil. It's for December 2nd. I will satisfy your soul. I will satisfy my people with long life and show my salvation. I will satisfy your desires with good things, so that your youth is renewed like the eagles. I will satisfy your soul with abundance and fill you with goodness. I will guide you continually. You will be like a watered garden and like a spring of water, whose waters fall not. I will bless your provision and satisfy you with bread. Prayer declaration. Lord, you are my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. Surely you will save me from the fowler's snare and from the deadly pestilence. You will cover me with your feathers, and under your wings I will find refuge. Your faithfulness will be my shield and rampart. With long life, you will satisfy me and show me your salvation. And that was the Daily Declaration for Spiritual Warfare for December the 2nd. Thank you. So remember that all the things that the left are doing, whether it's stacking the court or right now they're just dithering and thinking about stacking the court, but whether it's stacking the court or CRT or anything else, all of this comes at a price. They're not getting this for free. It may look that way, but it isn't. The $1.7 trillion this, the $3.5 trillion that, all of it comes with a price, and that's pressure. Unrelenting pressure. These are folks that Nancy Pelosi is rumored to be an alcoholic, and probably with good reason, because the pressure on her must be absolutely enormous. She's getting it all from all directions. She gets it from the hard left that demands progress, and from the moderates who want to get reelected. So, and everything has to be perfect. Everybody has to be included. Everyone on the left has to have a say-so. So you have to get, every time you want to pass a bill, you have to get the black caucus, the female caucus, the Hispanic caucus. All these people have to be satisfied and get on board. Can you imagine the crushing pressure that these folks are under? So understand that. It may look like they're getting this for nothing. They're not. CRT is the same thing. It is a tremendous amount of pressure because they expect they're doing this either to create a revolution to get to a perfect society, or they're trying to create the perfect society directly. And creating perfect anything is absolute. I mean, put it this way. If you're somebody that likes to cook Thanksgiving dinner and you want the perfect Thanksgiving dinner, that's a tremendous amount of pressure, isn't it? I mean, just to cook a decent Thanksgiving dinner, forget about perfect, just decent, the pressure is enormous because you have all kinds of things going at the same time. You got to time everything just right, and you've got to make sure that everything measures out correctly and that you don't burn this or you don't undercook such and such. That's pressure, but it's not a tenth, it's not a hundredth of the pressure that is experienced by the left each and every day. So remember that. And when you're talking with lefties, ask them, aren't you tired of it? Aren't you tired of the pressure, the constant pressure to be perfect every day and to create perfection every day? Aren't you sick and tired of it? Ask them that. Thank you. CRT is a tool of the state. One of the objectives here of the left, and it has been since the very beginning, since the 1850s, is to get parents, destroy the nuclear family and get parents out of the way. And one of the ways that they have done that, or the chief way that the left has done that throughout history, is by using children as spies for the state. You go to a state school in the Soviet Union, and the children are encouraged to report unpatriotic or un-Soviet-like behavior, unsocialist-like behavior, wherever they see it, even at home. If your parents are saying things against the state, then you need to go and report that to the authorities. Come back to school and report your parents. And the same thing is happening here with CRT. CRT is simply a way of getting kids to separate kids psychologically from their parents and make it easier for kids to report their parents and what it is that their parents are doing or failing to do. So this is another good reason why you want to be careful to raise your children and raise them conservative, and explain to them why conservatism is best and why they don't want to be a liberal, and what liberalism, or better said, socialism, looks like. What does it look like in action? What does it look like if you go to school and you're getting socialism from the teacher? What does that look like? Well, it looks like CRT for one thing. The other thing is you gotta be a parent. You brief your kids before they go to school, and when they come home, you debrief them. So that's the way it's done in the military. It's what it's called. Before you go out on a mission, you get a mission briefing. When you come back from your mission, you give a mission debriefing. So the same thing with the kids. They come home, you say, what did you learn in school today? Were you taught anything that seems kind of odd or strange, or right? Get involved at that particular level, so that at the very least, if you're not going to be able to, or you're not willing to take your kids out of that school and put them somewhere else, then what you can do is counteract. So the kids come home and say, well, the teacher said this. And you can say, well, that's a bunch of baloney, Johnny. You're going to have to put up with it. Go along, but understand it's a bunch of baloney. Disregard at the end of the day. So, but realize that that's the ultimate aim of CRT, and anything else like CRT is to be able to separate the children from their parents and turn children into the tools of the state, the eyes and ears of the state, to be able to control their parents. Thank you. So there was a shooting in Michigan, and school shooting, a 15-year-old that shot and killed several people and injured others. Another school shooting, and ultimately what has to happen here, again, as I've said in the past, this has to be laid at Nancy Pelosi's feet. All the debate about guns is just a sideline issue because it doesn't explain why. Why do they do it? What is the motivation of the people that go ahead and shoot up a school or shoot up anything, a business, a mall, whatever it is that happens? And the motive is revolution. Nancy Pelosi preaches revolution. She wants violence. She does it directly or indirectly. She does it with dog whistles. She does it with code words. She doesn't come right out and say, hey, be a revolutionary, go out and shoot up a school. She doesn't need to. The people on the left understand all the code words and all the dog whistles, and they know what to do. They know how to decode everything, and they know what it is that Nancy Pelosi is getting at. So they get it, in other words. So it goes at Nancy Pelosi's feet. It's that there is action and reaction, and she has to accept responsibility for her words and what she does and the promotion of violence. Not only does she have to accept responsibility, she needs to knock it off. She needs to stop it right now. She needs to apologize to the United States of America at large. She needs to admit that she's wrong and promise never to do it again. And since she has blood on her hands, that's not good enough. She needs to also resign, get out of office, and never seek office again. Thank you. Another thing about the immigrants, illegal immigrants, and talking about the subversion of our sense of right and wrong. Illegal immigrants are criminals. That's what they are. And what the left will, of course, paint them out to be innocent bystanders, victims, just victims. They are victims of circumstances in their home country, and so they're just looking for a better way of life. They're the good guys, the heroes, and law enforcement, of course, are the bad guys because they're trying to prevent these folks from, solving their problems. So the thing is, then they're criminals. They come into this country, and where are they going to live? They're going to live. They're going to get victimized first of all. So even if they're being victimized in their home country, coming across the border illegally invites other criminals to victimize them. So they come across the border, and first of all, getting across the border requires criminal enterprise to help them do that, and they got to pay this criminal enterprise $5,000 in order to do it. Very often, they or their family are held hostage for even more money. It's a shakedown. Gee, what a surprise. So then they go and live in a community of criminals, of other criminals. Some of these criminals are like them. The only crime that they've committed, at least so far, unless you want to consider stealing jobs a crime, is that they've come across the border illegally. Some of them are felons, maybe running from the police departments in their own country. So they're robbers, they're burglars, they're rapists, etc. So now, of course, the criminals that are here that get victimized by other criminals don't want to go to the police. Criminals never want to go and report crimes to the police. They always want to take care of matters on their own. That's the way criminal enterprises works, groups of criminals. And then the left, of course, blames law enforcement. They say that the good guys are at fault because the good guys are intimidating. and that their presence is intimidating, their mannerisms, the way they approach things is intimidating. There's the fear that law enforcement is going to turn them over to the INS, and it's crap. It's pure crap. Stop and think about something for a second. You're coming from Mexico. Mexico and the Mexican government have a long history of corruption, particularly when it comes to law enforcement. Apparently in Mexico, it is very easy to get away with crimes by simply bribing law enforcement officers. And it is also very easy to become a victim of law enforcement officers in Mexico with shakedowns, particularly if you're an American, or even if you're a Mexican but you live in America and you're coming back, let's say, to Mexico for the holidays, for Christmas. Then there's all kinds of criminals that are waiting for them, and when they come back, these criminals then shake them down and rob them, etc. And then very often it's the police department, the people that are supposed to be helping you, that are supposed to be the bad guys, that are the worst criminals. That's why when they come to the United States, these criminals, and they get they go live with other criminals, they have an apartment complex, whatever, and they get victimized by some of these other criminals, whether it's rape or whatever else, they're reluctant to report it. Why? Because they assume, thanks to the left in this country, thanks to the left, who has painted out our law enforcement officers as being bad, evil people, whose only interest it is throwing you in prison, as being as corrupt as the law enforcement back in their home country, whether it's Mexico, the Philippines, or whatever. Okay, so that's why they're afraid of the police department, because of their own experiences at home and by the reinforcement, reinforcing of this socio-psychological fear by Nancy Pelosi. Thank you. The theft that's going on, that you see at high-end stores and whatnot, even at Target and Walmart, people, organized gangs going ahead and robbing Walmart or Target. You wouldn't have seen this 50 years ago, because right now, this is the culmination of left-wing subversion, where the left wing has subverted our sense of ethics, of right and wrong, and they have succeeded in convincing people that wrong is right, that the people that are criminals are the good guys, and the people that enforce the law are bad guys. And that's why we now have, because where else are you going to get all these people? They're supposedly young, 19, 20 years old. Where are you going to get all of this amount of people to be rushing a store, breaking the windows, breaking in and stealing things like this? And apparently they're doing this for a living. I guess they go from place to place doing this. Like I said, 40, 50 years ago, no one would even thought about it. No kid, no 19-year-old would even think about being part of a crew, of a shoplifting crew, to go in and steal thousands of dollars worth of merchandise. Today, apparently, the average 19 or 20-year-old shrugs their shoulders and says, "Why not?" And since there's because nobody's there to tell him about ethics and explain to him who the good guys are, who the bad guys are, and why. The left has been working on this for decades. You see it every time there's a law enforcement, any type of a law enforcement issue. When you look at the border, who does the left paint out as the bad guys? Border patrols, law enforcement. The good guys are the criminals that are trying to steal across the border and steal whatever it is that they can steal once they get into the United States. The left makes sure that the criminals get everything that they need and then some, and then that law enforcement gets less or nothing. Here's another way of looking at it. You have all these protesters, so-called protesters, they're just criminals in Portland, Oregon, setting fires. They get arrested, and there is you have politicians like Kamala Harris that goes ahead and does a bail fund, that creates a bail fund for these people, while at the same time advocating that you defund police departments. And why? Because the police departments are being painted by Kamala Harris and others as the bad guys. The good guys become the bad guys, and the bad guys become the good guys. So you have to, again, this comes right back to teaching your kids. If you are not teaching your kids to be conservative, teaching them why it's best to be conservative, then you're leaving them to the tender mercies of everyone else in our society, of the left-wing teachers' unions, of the college professors, etc. And if you're going to leave them to their tender mercies, so to speak, then there's no wonder that 19 and 20-year-olds are running around robbing stores. Thank you. And now I'm going to be reading from the book called No Free Lunch by David Bahnsen. No society can surely be flourishing and happy of which the far greater part of the members are poor and miserable. Adam Smith. This is true both morally and economically. Man, as moral agents, must pursue conditions of flourishing for all. And while the utopian vision is futile on this side of glory, in a society of free exchange, incentives exist that result in conditions of flourishing and commercial satisfaction for the vast majority of the citizenry. Poverty may not be fully eradicated, but it will not be the majority condition of the society. And that was a segment from the book No Free Lunch. Thank you, and let's see. I want to remind everybody, first of all, bring back Brian Suits. They have a show that has sort of taken his place on Saturday. Again, it's Steve somebody. And he's got a nice voice and whatnot, but all of his material is used, for lack of a better term. It's old news stories. And so it's got a kind of a chiller thriller kind of an angle to it, but it's still not as good as the Dark Secret Place. So bring back Brian Suits. Also, John and Ken show, 2 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, and on KFI AM 640. That's Pacific time, by the way. And of course, they have podcasts that you can listen to on your favorite podcasting places. They're first and foremost, what is the name of that? The iHeartMedia. That's who basically owns the station, as iHeartMedia. So anyway, so if you have that, you can, and they're on all the other podcasting networks. I have one on my phone. I think it's just podcast or something, and they're on that one. But anyway, so yes, John and Ken show. If you want to hear people that again, they communicate, they think like true conservatives, even though they don't claim to be. So, and until next time, remember to be polite, be smart, be beautiful, and always remember that the left has no authority, no power, and they can't win.